to set up the stream again on my end. Okay. Okay. All right, looks like we are up and running. All right. So if you were tuned into our last stream, that was my fault. So when you get an upwards of about 210 mods or so, the creation menu starts to act a little funny. So that was an oversight on my part, not anything that's necessarily wrong with our load order or with our game. I think I have exactly 210 mods downloaded right now. So when you can download more mods than 210 mods, the thing is, you have to download them from within the creation menu. You cannot sort or organize your load order when you have this many mods inside of the creation menu when you are online. You have to go into your network settings on your PS4 and then turn your network off so that you're no longer connected to the internet. And then any organizing or sorting that you want to do, you have to do it from there. So that being said, when you download this load order, if that is your goal, that is your intention, my advice to you would be download the largest mods first. Those are going to be basically Traverse the Ulvenwald, Tomatoes Landscapes, and Azurite Weathers 3, and all of our town texture overhauls. So the Writtens and the Clever Charfs. Once you download all of those mods, then download everything else in the list right in order. Just go right down the list and download everything in order. And I would stop every once in a while, leave the creation menu. That way it sort of can save your load order. Because if you, for any reason, I mean, Skyrim is funny. It just does things sometimes. If for any reason you crash during your load order sorting, because you've backed out and you've given the game a chance to save things, it will solidify the order that you've already had previously. So when you go back in, just keep downloading, write down the list, and then pretty much everything will be in order. The only thing you should have to sort when you go offline is those few mods that you downloaded first. And you're going to have a lot of mods that are disabled, and just go through and re-enable everything. Now, once you've sorted it offline in the creations menu, you're going to want to, of course, quit the creations menu so that it'll save and solidify your load order again, and then re-enable your network settings. So that was my fault, that last crash. But I'm going to take you through the full setup. So just a word of advice: whenever you're starting a modded playthrough, I like to clear my cache, my system cache. So basically what I do is I go into my save data settings into my PS5 and basically clear my save data. Now, I wouldn't necessarily do it this way if you have a save that you care about on Skyrim, but I do not. So I just wipe all of my saves because most of them are tests anyways. And I will stop doing this essentially when I'm happy with my load order and I'm ready to actually sit down and do a full playthrough. So, and then once you've downloaded your load order, I would do a restart just to sort of, allow Skyrim to have a quick little nap. It's like an old man sometimes. So I like to go with the Nord. So again, this is going to be the full setup. I'm going to show you exactly how I like to set up my game. I'm going to take you through some of the INI settings that I use, some of the game settings, so that we can get Azurite weathers looking real nice. Alright, so this is our guy. And we will call him Elias. Alright. So, first thing that we'll do, we'll just go right down our list here. This is the hardcore melee damage scaling. I like this mod a lot. I do not like damage sponges. Sometimes I like to play on survival. If you don't, you can totally forgo this mod, but I feel like vanilla survival is way too punishing to make it fun, so playable survival is great to have. Mod options, we'll come back to that in a minute. We'll do our power of self-vision. So this is the dynamic camera mod. You can set this up however you want. My preference is, since this is a melee character, I like it a little off to the right. I like to zoom in nice and close, kind of gives it a like a For Honor kind of feel. Idle zoom, this is going to be also close for the minimum. FOV, crank that up to 100. Done. Moving on. Game breaker, we'll come back to that one as well. Visible favorited gear, turn that on. Wet and cold options, usually you don't have to actually do anything to this, but I just like to make sure that some of these extra mods, or these extra features like the rain gear is turned on. The cold gear, I turn that NPC on. Ashes, NPC on, okay, and we're out of there. Alright, so I'll just show you real quick what the mod options menu is. So this is our simple workaround framework. Extended encounters, this really needs no setup at all, so you really won't use that. If you like the just shields though, I would come in here and you could put the static shield on if you want. If you like to have the shield on back, for right now, we're not going to use that. Okay, so game breaker. First things first, particles. IMAX desired. We're going to set this to 6,000. This is the recommendation of v3.2. He's the one who ported Azurite Weathers 3. So of course you want to take his recommendations there. VATS. Alright, so in combat, the kill cams can cause some weird jank, some weird lag, and can also cause you to crash, especially on a heavily modded load order. Now this is not required. This will be stable without doing this, but for my taste personally, I do not like the slow motion kill cams. You will still get kill cams, they just won't be that slow motion VATS from Fallout type thing, you know. So setting that to 1 disables it. Oh, not weather, we want water. So this is gonna turn on some reflections for our water, and that's it. We're just gonna turn those first 3 settings to 1, and then we're out of here. So that's our mods set up. We're gonna go into our settings, our game settings. A couple important ones here. Off the rip, turn off your saves. You don't want any auto saves. This can cause save bloat. This can cause you to crash down the road. So all of your saves are going to be manual saves. You can quick save. Quick saves are fine, but quick saves are temporary. You're going to want a hard save. And you're not going to want like 50 different hard save files. You're going to want maybe 3 hard save files that you alternate through, and you can overwrite them. But you really want to reduce save bloat, and then use quick save as a as a temporary kind of thing. So when you quick save, it will constantly overwrite the quick save files. So you should, if you take my advice, you should only have 4 save files in total. Your 3 quick save slots, and then your 3 manual save slots, and then 1 for your quick save slot. And since we're using control, which we're going to set up right now, actually. So I'm using a PlayStation Pro Edge controller. So what I like to do is I already have my controls mostly mapped on my controller itself. And I make 2 small adjustments here, because I noticed when you use control, it's a little funny. If you remap the L1 controller, or the L1 button, which it uses for a lot of the keybinds, it won't work properly in my experience. So what I've done is, instead of changing the L1 button in the game, I've remapped it on my controller. So we're all set there. Yeah, we're all set. Audio is fine. I like to turn crosshair off. Dialogue, subtitles, and depth of field. You can move this wherever you want. It's not really important. Oh, and the most important thing, brightness. This is kind of subjective. You're going to put this wherever you like it. You can go all the way down to 0, really. But for now, we're just going to kind of leave it at 2 clicks and go from there. Now, so we're going to quick save. Oh, sorry about that. Quick save. So on control, the control mod, we have a quick save keybind. So that makes things nice and easy. We don't have to constantly go into our start menu just to save. So some of the big things that I want to test, give me 1 minute here. We're going to look at water. We're going to look at combat. We're going to check out some of the larger towns. They've got some pretty heavy texture town overhauls in the towns. So we're going to check out Riften, Solitude, Whiterun, Markarth, Winterhold, Windhelm, Falkreath, and Riverwood, because you always start at Riverwood typically, unless you're using an alt-start mod like us, but that's one of the more common areas, so we'll stop there. We'll look at the weathers, we'll look at interiors and lighting, and yeah, anything else we feel is important. Alright, so we're not going to spend too much time here. We're just gonna, I like to grab Scout for that extra stamina and that little boost to our speed. The Steed Stone just removes the armor weight penalty, and I think slightly increases carry weight. Grab a couple of these. Alright, we are almost ready to go. Let's grab some arrows. And we'll save again. Alright, so we are ready to go. Alright, so we'll start in Riverwood. Take a look at some of that water, some of those flowing streams and rivers. We're going to leave survival mode off for now. Oh, so by the way, this is the Steel Tassets armor mod. So, just a slight different variation on the steel plate armor. I like it a lot. I feel like the shoulder pauldrons are a little larger. And you've kind of got those little sashes down there by your legs. So you notice we're getting a nice steady frame rate here. The water, so this is not, we're using Simplicity of Sea, but this is not stock Simplicity of Sea. This is being altered by Illinalta to make it a little bit more transparent. And I believe Illinalta is also bundled in with some flow fixes as well. We've got blended shorelines, so you notice, you know, you don't really see any jagged edges on the shoreline. To be honest, between the transparency and blended shorelines, you really can't tell where the water starts and stops, but anyway, I think it looks nice. The reason we're going with Simplicity, water for EMB looks amazing, but Simplicity's LODs look incredible from a far range also. Simplicity is like a fraction of the file size of water for ENB. I think our entire water stack with all the waterfalls and all the patches and everything is maybe only 12 megabytes versus out of the box water for ENB is about 30. So we're getting just as good looking water at a fraction of the cost and superior LODs. So we'll take a look at some of the waterfalls as we kind of go down the road here. We'll pop in here and take a look at some of the interior lighting. So this is just luminosity. If you've been following my load orders, you'll know that I've used different variations of interior lightings in the past. I love relighting Skyrim. That is my favorite interior lighting mod. And they have a window shadows variant that's very, very good. However, we just recently redid our lighting stack because we're now using Lanterns of Skyrim 2, which adds these nice little lanterns here that blow in the wind. All of the exterior lighting is overhauled by that mod. So lanterns, torches, braziers, all those kinds of things are overhauled by Lanterns of Skyrim 2. It also has a patch with JKs, so that's always nice when we can find mods to patch in with our other mods, especially something that overhauls so many locations as JKs does. The textures are tomatoes. We were running Vanaheimr. The reason why I changed to Vanaheimr is easily the best textures, like hands down. However, they take up a ton of space. And I think, personally, for my taste, tomatoes is a close second. It honestly, like maybe half the amount of space it takes up. So this allowed us some more space for some other mods. The roads are blended roads. However, we're using the tomatoes variant, so Morse Umbra has uploaded a version of blended roads with the tomatoes textures on the roads. So normally, if you were using Vanaheimr, I would recommend using really blended roads. But because this has the tomatoes textures built in, we can get away with using just the stock blended roads. And you'll notice that the road seams really aren't bad at all. I mean, you know, here's a little one here, but I mean, I'm being really nitpicky. Like, I can live with that, you know? This is the ruins over Riverwood. You'll notice that it's actually getting the textures. We'll get some combat in here in a minute, it looks like. This is inheriting the textures from Ritten's Whiterun. So these stones that you're seeing, these are not the vanilla stones. These are coming from Ritten's. Notice combat is nice and stable, no crashing. We've got the nice little dodge mods. We can, because we're using the character behavior enhancer, we can attack in water, we can jump attack, we can dodge. This mod actually does quite a bit. I believe you can also fight on horseback. You'll see our wet and cold mod kicking in there with those little droplets of water. You'll see our obsidian mountain fogs. And you'll notice, again, the frame rate is very stable. Again, this is just the base PS5. Oh, let's take a look at some of these waterfalls here. So we're using TMD Epic Waterfalls and Natural Waterfalls. Actually, we can go look at this one. So they're looking pretty good. I will say it looks like the Inalta transparency mod sort of, it kind of gives the effect like it's muting the particles a little bit. I mean, that could also be our game breaker settings, because we do have deluxe INI, and if you run that stock, I believe particles are set to like 40,000 or 20,000 or something like that. But because we're using game breaker to modify our particles to 6,000, that we could be witnessing a little bit of a change there. But overall, you'll notice very stable frame rates here. What's going on over here? Okay, we'll just go on about our business. Nice. Here's an opportunity to show you the moss shaders. So we are using the moss shaders restored mod. So that'll add moss, like a moss texture. It's not a texture mod. It's a shader, but it'll add that on top of our rocks. So, and it works with our tomatoes rocks. It doesn't do it to every rock. It's selective, so it gives a nice bit of variation. But that's pretty cool. I like that. That's actually my first time seeing that in action. Now, I don't want to jinx myself, but if you were gonna crash, you would do it here. Now, it's not because this load order doesn't work. It's because even in vanilla, this is a very heavy location. But it looks like we're gonna be okay, and we're gonna just ignore all that nonsense over there. So if you were to crash here on your first time here, basically you just reload and keep moving on. It happens. So that's just Skyrim being Skyrim. That's not necessarily anything conflicting in our load order. Now you'll notice. I'll let this guy say his piece real quick.
Official business only. Welcome to Whiterun, friend. Go right on in.
So I was very selective with the mods I chose, like meticulously. So I do not like things that clip. I don't like immersion breaking things. So flickering and clipping and things like that, I've really tried to minimize as much as humanly possible. Now, I'm not saying there's zero clipping. You will find some here or there. I feel that if anyone tells you otherwise, that they're probably lying to you. But it's pretty rare in this load order. You'll notice we're taking a little hit to the FPS here, but overall, this is very playable, very stable. I do have a ton of mods overhauling Whiterun. We've got Green Thumb, we've got Abstract Whiterun AIO, we've got JK's, and we've got Writtens, of course. So we've got a lot going on here. So if you can tolerate this, this is about as heavy as it'll ever get. And I mean, it's still pretty smooth. You notice the water's looking real nice here. Oh, I'm falling in. Okay. We've got the Dragon's Reach pools, the lower pool and the upper pool here. Check out the lighting inside of Dragon's Reach. So I was talking before about our lighting mods. So the reason that we've gone with luminosity is because I previously, since we moved to Lanterns of Skyrim for our exterior lighting system, that meant we had to get rid of relighting Skyrim window shadows because we needed an interior only lighting system. Now, relighting Skyrim does not have a window shadows version for interiors only. There is an interiors only for relighting Skyrim, but it is not a window shadows variant. So what I tried instead was using Skyrim as Luminous and patching Window Shadows RT and Window Shadows Enhancer in. So I was running that for a while, but during my testing I noticed that while the dynamic lighting effect from the window shadows was very beautiful, it was actually muting a lot of the other lighting and light sources, and basically kind of stopping them from casting light properly. So we'll fast forward this to nighttime just so we can kind of get an idea of what is actually illuminating here, what's ambient, and what is actually coming from a light source. Now, the thing about luminosity is it is the exact same lighting template, same aesthetic exactly as Skyrim is Luminous. The difference is Skyrim is Luminous adds 2,000 bulbs to the world of Skyrim. So that's nice and all, but it can introduce flickering. So you'll notice we are completely flicker free on our interior lighting. Things are lighting naturally as they should. We have no dark spots. And if you want darker lighting or lighter lighting, you can always change that setting in the Azurite meditation. Change your interior vision. You could also craft the Aceto Sanctum book. Pretty sure I said that wrong. At the tanning. And you can turn tone mapping off on interiors. The tone mapping is the thing that comes with Azurite Weathers 3 that makes lighting so interesting with the interiors. The porter, Be Wary of A, recommends using Skyrim is Luminous. Just taking a moment to appreciate that nice sky. Moons are kind of obscured behind the clouds. Looks nice. So this is what we're seeing now, right? This is probably a Mythical Ages weather playing right now. So we've got Azurite Weathers 3 with Mythical Ages for AW3 working together. So that is a version of Mythical Ages that v3.2 built to basically utilize the technology of Azerite Weathers 3. So instead of taking another weather mod and basically... Oh, and there was a shooting star from Wonders of Weather. Or, I'm sorry. Yeah, Wonders of Weather. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. That was cool. So instead of just patching two completely different weather mods together, what he's done is he's allowed the weathers from Mythical Ages to utilize the technology from Azerite Weathers 3. So if you're going to use the two mods together, I would say this is the way to do it, because Azerite Weathers 3 is technologically the most superior weather mod, probably on PS5, and I would say NAT probably a close second. But that being said, yeah, he did make a note about using Skyrim is Luminous, as it's made by the same author who's made Azerite Weathers 3 for your interior lighting here. So I had issues, like I said, with the interior lighting for Skyrim is Luminous. I was getting some flickering, you know, the occasional flickering, nothing really bad, nothing game breaking, but you know, if you can use a mod that uses the exact same image template and actually properly lights the interiors, like see these candles right here. When I was using Skyrim is Luminous with window shadows, and by the way, this is JK's Interiors. At the time, I was not using JK's Interiors because JK's Interiors is not compatible with mods like window shadows or relighting Skyrim. It is, however, compatible with luminosity. So since we've changed to luminosity, we're now getting light is properly emitting from these candles here. If you ever walk into the Bannered Mare and these candles are not illuminating, you've got some kind of lighting issue going on. So we don't have that anymore. So luminosity alone is doing very well here. You'll see we've got some nice warm lighting, nice warm palette going on in here. And I mean, JK's Interiors is so nice. So yeah, I mean, do you sacrifice the dynamic lighting of window shadows? Yes. But what you sacrifice in that dynamic lighting, you gain in immersion in another way, you know, because JK's Interiors is a nice overhaul to a lot of the interior locations. And so, you know, a lot of the interior locations in vanilla Skyrim are just, you know, sparse and empty. So that was a trade-off I was willing to make. But I think we've seen enough of Whiterun.
Let me know if you want it.
Let's get some sun back in our life.
Think I got a clean mug around here somewhere.
Alright, I think...
Oh, there once was a hero named Ragnar the Red who came riding to Whiterun from old Rorikstead.
I think we'll go check out Solitude next, because I did just change from Written Solitude back to Clever Charms. And the reason I did that is because Written Solitude is about 40 megabytes, depending on which one you choose. I was using Medieval Written Solitude, which is beautiful. All of Written's mods, I think, are probably the superior town overhaul mods. However, Clever Charms is like a fraction of the cost at like 24 megabytes of space. So we've gone with Clever Charms for the moment. Now that could change in the future. By the way, I am using all map markers enabled, the mod for that. I do not usually. I'm only using that so that we can kind of quickly get to and from places and for the purpose of this demo.
They can't hurt Uncle Rogvir. Tell them he didn't do it.
Okay, so it's just going to be cloudy.
Go home and stay there until your mother comes.
Alright, so we've got JK's again.
You betrayed us.
Clever Charf. We've got the, what is this? Green Thumb. Green Thumb is, does apply here to Solitude. So Solitude can also be a bit heavy at times. But it's doing pretty good right now. Let's go check out the Blue Palace, and then on our way out we'll check the Winking Skeever. And then we'll take a look at the JK's outskirts in this area. So JK's outskirts makes some nice modifications to the docks here, and we'll get a nice opportunity to see some of those gains we're getting, those LOD gains that we're getting from using Simplicity of Sea. Nice. So you do still get the sunlight rays coming in the windows without window shadows. You just don't get the shadows. So in case you were wondering about that, you know, it's not going to make interiors completely dark. Now, whether or not that actually matches the sunlight and it's dynamic with the sunlight, I don't believe that's the case. But still. So you can tweak your visuals even further if you want. If you go into the simple workaround framework, I'm just noticing things are looking a little bit cold. The color palette's looking a little cold. So if we wanted to, we could go into simple workaround framework and we can add a little bit of saturation here. Let's just play around with it and see. Now I'm not going to leave it here. This is probably going to look ridiculous, but I'm just going to have a nice look around.
Send out a legion to scour the cave and secure the town. Hathingar's people will always be safe under my rule.
Your Eminence, my scrying has suggested nothing in the area. Dragon Bridge is under Imperial control. This is likely superstitious nonsense.
Perhaps a more tempered reaction might be called for?
Oh, yes, of course, you were right. Falk, tell Captain Aldous I said to assign a few extra soldiers to Dragonbridge.
Thank you, Jarl Ellison. What about the cave?
I will have someone take care of the cave as well, Vargas. Rest easy. You're dismissed.
Oh yeah, look, wow, look at those colors. I mean, that's really nice. It's a little too aggressive for my tastes. So we're gonna turn that down. So that was 0. I mean, that color really does pop. Those mountain flowers. So we're getting those Dr. Jacopo's 3D plants pack. That's what we're looking at right now. So that's a plant mesh. So we're looking at those nice 3D plant meshes that he's got there. Boy, do they look good. Nice. Alright, let's check out the Winking Skeever. Look at those obsidian mountain fogs in the back doing their thing.
But those tendrils bind our reality together.
Got we're running lightly populated settlements. You could run crowded streets, however, in my testing, I had issues with crowded streets. it kind of bills itself in theory on paper it should be a very lightweight population mod, but in practice it caused a lot of crashing for me. So, you know, and it can add like up to 20 different NPCs. I don't know how many lightly populated settlements adds, but I have had 0 issues with lightly populated settlements, and I had nothing but issues with crowded streets, and I've even gone into the settings for crowded streets and like, you know, played around with how many NPCs, you know, you could have in a cell or in a city. Sorry, that lady was throwing me off here. I'm trying to think. She's singing in my ear. Yeah, so anyway, I really tried tweaking crowded streets. I wanted to keep it. I wanted to like it. I do like it. But at least on the base PS5, maybe it works better on PS Pro, but on base PS5 it is not it, man. So you'll notice we've got the Origins of Forest here. Solitude, the entrance to Solitude is always overgrown. If you're like someone who's kind of a Nazi about grass on roads, I just want you to know this is the only area that does this. And I don't care what kind of mods you download. You can download landscape fixes for grass mods. You can download, I mean, we're currently using No Gracias, which works in like 90% of the game. It does not work here. But I personally, I don't care. I'd rather have this look like it's got a little bit of life than this, I mean, be completely just stone and more stone. But yeah, so we've got Origins of Forest. We're using Vados Brom region. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. And we have Traverse the Ulvenwald light. So the reason for that, I've tried a lot of different tree mods and floor mods. I was at one point running Northern Grass, which is very beautiful, very dense, very high quality. And at one point I was also running Nature of the Wildlands. And the reason why I took Nature of the Wildlands off is because the up-close textures were so blurry and smudgy. And I couldn't get past that. No matter what I did. And those textures were also applying to my Immersive Fallen Trees mod. So it wasn't just the trees themselves, it was basically anything at all that had bark on it, whether it be a lying tree over there or a stump. And I mean, you can kind of see detail on that lying tree over there. And I mean, when I was running Northern Nature of the Wildlands, I mean, that thing, I could tell if I was looking at this fallen tree right now, that thing was blurry from here. So it is a great tree mod. It adds a lot of trees, but at 237 megabytes, I personally don't think it's worth it. That said, I had also tested Fabled Forests. There's 2 variants on PS5. There's one that is like, I don't know, 30 or 40 megabytes. That one's a little blurry. However, it's 30 or 40 megabytes, so that makes sense. There's also another variant that's like 100 megabytes, and that one is not blurry. However, I feel like it doesn't add enough variety in the trees themselves. Everything, you know, you walk around and mostly everything you look at, aside from the Reach location, is a pine. And it adds these big, thick tree trunks that kind of obscure your vision, you know, when you're walking through a forest. I mean, it feels like a dense forest, but it also obscures, you know, your ability to see like the mountains in the backdrop. And you know, we've spent so much of our data on, you know, our textures and our rocks and our mountains and this and that. I want to actually see them. So we've gone with Traverse the Aldenwald, which is just a vanilla tree replacer. And you'll notice that the textures on these trees are decent. I mean, look, this is about as good as it gets for tree mods. If you have one that looks better than that, I mean, please let me know. We're also using Forest Bark 2K, so anything that is vanilla will be inheriting that. But let's just take a moment to appreciate the LODs. I mean, all the way out there, you know, no seams, no nonsense. That is why we use Simplicity of C. So, Vedasbram regions, not the densest grass mod. There are definitely areas where it is denser, like here you can see sort of interweaved with Origins of Forest. It is denser in here. However, what it lacks in density, it more than makes up for in variety. I would say that it probably adds more flora variety than any other grass mod available on PS5. Now, since I was recently using Nature of the Wildlands and Fabled Forests, and I did still want forests to feel dense, but I did go back to a vanilla tree replacer. That is why we added in Origins of Forest. It sort of just thickens up our forests a little bit. Also, going back to a vanilla tree replacer was much better on our performance. So,
it looks amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, there's always trade-offs. There's always pros and cons. There's always trade-offs. I did try another tree mod called Simply Bigger Trees, which basically just make the vanilla trees much bigger. It is much smaller. Traverse the Aldenwald Lite, by the way, is 100 megabytes of space. So, if you don't want to spend a lot of space on a tree mod, maybe this is not the one for you. But I wanted good quality trees. I didn't want to spend 230 megabytes on a tree mod, and so this is ultimately what I landed on. Looks like the sun is going to make a little bit of an appearance here. We're going to go take a look at another area here in a minute. Let's go take a look at Riften. But you'll notice our Clever Charf's texture pack also applies to the outskirts, which is true basically across the board. If you have a town overhaul mod that overhauls the textures, it will generally apply to the surrounding areas also outside of the town. Now, how far that will extend, I don't know, because you noticed that if you were watching the stream when we first began, Ruins of Riverwood was inheriting the textures from Whiterun, and that was quite far away. I mean, this is immediately outside of Solitude, so that makes sense. But I don't actually know how far that range applies. So, alright, let's go take a look at, a moment here. Let's go take a look at Riften. So we've got Ritten's Riften.
Another run-in with a thief's guild.
Be careful, Leo. The Thieves Guild.
I don't know you. You and Rift, you can pretend not to hear me all you want.
I'm really getting tired of your
stay out of
excuses.
Blackfriars
When you
business.
borrowed the money, you said you'd pay it back on time and for double the usual fee.
I hope that doesn't mean things are going to get worse around here.
So I mean, the towns they look nice, they feel lively. You know, this one I don't believe gets anything from Green Thumb. But still, you know, you've got these nice little aspen trees in here, and we are using the Riften floor cleanup mod by Kovac. And that kind of just cleans up all the leaves. Now, something I have thought about was adding the TMD leaves mod, which basically just adds like fallen reach leaves into the water. However, I thought it would look a little weird because they are static. Those leaves are static, and since Simplicity of Sea has so much flow, I thought that would be kind of immersion breaking. That the water is flowing so much, but the leaves are not going anywhere. If you were using a mod like, I believe it's called Still Water or Smooth Waters, something that's a little bit more smooth, even water for EMB, TMD leaves would probably be a lot more appropriate for something like that. Yeah, it's beautiful. Great textures, a lot of colors. Got our missives boards. We'll never run out of stuff to do.
Protect yourself.
People of Riften, heed my words. The return of the dragons is not mere coincidence. This is one of the signs that Lady Mara is displeased with your constant inebriation. Put down your flagons filled with your vile liquids and embrace the teachings of the hand.
Riften is one of my favorite towns. However, it's also a very small town. So, we'll go take a look at the outskirts.
Tools, wares, and weapons, all for sale at fair prices.
You'll notice we're getting the fire VFX from Kitty Tails. We're using Kitty Tails AIO v4, I think it is. And just look at those mountains, man. We're using enhanced rocks and mountains as well as the add-on. So this was kind of giving the mountains like those jagged, that kind of jagged appearance. It's a mesh replacer for mountains and rocks for that matter. Nice sunset. So we've got the flora additions. Just the water plants. We've got enough flora variations in our stack, and Dr. Jacopo's is making them as high quality as possible. So I didn't want to add the flora additions if they, I didn't want to add anything that wasn't going to be high quality. Like for instance, I believe it adds like a cypress tree, but we're already using a tree overhaul that adds very nice trees, high quality trees. So I didn't want to add in low quality trees and, muddy up our frame rate and our performance in the process. So we're just using the floor additions with the water add-ons just to add like those nice little lily pads and a little bit of life to the water. There's tomatoes textures. Alright, let's talk about, let's go over to Windhelm, because there's definitely quite a bit to talk about over there. So with Windhelm, we took a different approach. We are using JK's Skyrim version 2, which omits Windhelm. And the reason for that is because Windhelm can be very performance heavy. Let's get some more. The way the light is reflecting off the snow is kind of aggressive. That's more tolerable. I think that was just sometimes the weathers can look like that with the Mythical Ages weathers. For the most part, they're beautiful, but sometimes the lighting can look a little bit quirky like that. So instead of JK's in Windhelm, we are using a version of JK Skyrim that takes out Windhelm. However, it adds Dawnstar. So v3.2's JK Skyrim AIO version 1 includes Windhelm, but does not have Dawnstar. So we're using version 2. We've got Spaghetti's Windhelm, which is definitely way more lightweight than JK's Windhelm. And we're using Icy Windhelm, which is not a texture overhaul. It is I believe it's just a mesh replacer for like the snow. So you see all this snow here. I believe this is kind of what it does, and it adds like little icicles all around and stuff like that. So it's only like 15 megabytes of space, and I mean Spaghetti's is nothing, and I don't even think Spaghetti's is 100 kilobytes of space. So, but it's a nice and again, we're on the base PS5. This is a nice performance-friendly overhaul for Windhelm. I mean, if I had like Clever Charf's Windhelm, we would be suffering right now. Our frames would be not happy. Yeah, but all in all, it's very smooth. The hell was that? So anyway, where do we want to go next? Ooh, let's go to Markarth. Markarth is a good one. So in terms of the texture overhauls, this one is probably my favorite. We're also using Stony, I believe it's called Stony Markarth. So it adds more buildings up there to the upper parts of Markarth, like kind of carved into the mountains. So you'll notice there that the slow motion didn't play. That's because we have that disabled in Game Breaker. But we did still get the kill move. So
The woman attacked right on the streets. Are you alright? Did you see what happened? Oh, I think you dropped this. Some kind of note. It's important.
Anyway, so we're using tomatoes, Mark Arth. Which looks just incredible. Now, in all honesty, apart from it looking beautiful, the main reason we're using tomatoes Markarth is because tomatoes Markarth, tomato has bundled Markarth with Dwarven runes. So this mod is 53 megabytes of space. Pretty much all of the Markarth mods are around that area. You can find some larger ones for like 56 or, you know, upwards of like 60. They're usually in the 50 to 60 megabyte range. This mod is 53 megabytes of space. It's absolutely beautiful. And we also get the benefit of it overhauling the Dwemer runes. So that's bang for buck if you ask me. So, and, you know, also we're using other tomatoes textures and landscapes, so in general it just goes really nicely against the rocks and the mountains and everything else. I mean, as busy as this place is, you know, even in the rain, we're still getting very decent frames here. You know, we're taking a couple stutters here and there, but, you know, even on the base PS5, we're doing really well as far as performance goes. It's a very, very playable performance. And, again, this is about as heavy as it gets. Inside of these towns, the towns are probably the most heaviest modded aspect of this load order. We've got JKs, we've got texture overhauls, in a lot of cases we've got green thumb, we've got city trees, AIO, so, you know, we've also got JK's interiors. We've got a lot going on in these towns, so even still, the towns are still running very smooth. And yet, just know that when you go into dungeons or when you go out into the world to do questing, and, you know, most of the time when you're going to be in combat, your frames are going to be better than they are here. And I mean, this is not even bad. Got those JK outskirts. Looking nice. Man, look at that from there. You can really see. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. I want to say it's called Stony Markarth, or Markarth of Stone, or there's something like that. You can see those nice assets it kind of adds to the mountains. I mean, you kind of can't because those obsidian mountain fogs are obscuring it, but it just looks majestic. You'll notice those little rain splashes. Yeah, that's the one. City of Stone from Markarth, thank you. Yeah, you'll notice the little rain splashes. That's also coming from Wonders of Weather. Little rain splashes on the ground. That right there, that's wallpaper material right there. I'm actually gonna take a screenshot. That's really nice. Alright. So we've got the improved bridges. I actually don't think it affects Markarth. We're using the compatible version of improved bridges. Because our JK Skyrim overhauls the Whiterun Bridge. So compatible bridges just kind of takes JK Skyrim into account. We've got the road sign retexture mod. This is the weathered one. Kind of really can't see it right now. It's way too dark. We're in the shadow. It looks nice. Lots of clutter out there on the roads between Raid Ho, which is a paid mod, so if you're not into that, just be aware. But I believe it's worth it. Whoa, buddy. What is... So I think we've got our damage up a little too high here. We also did not do our hotkeys. So let's do our hotkeys really quick. There we go. And let's fix the damage quick. You are? Oh, I'm gonna be dirty. Oh, so this is a good opportunity to show you the jump attacks. So anyway, as I was saying, there's a lot of clutter on the roads. We're using Encounter, what's it called? Encounters, I can't remember what it's called. It's an Encounter mod, Encounter overhaul. So you'll get little encounters like that. Oh. I don't know if that encounter was scripted or not. As part of vanilla. Sometimes I really can't tell, which is kind of the beauty of the mods, is sometimes you can't tell if that was already there or if that's added in by a mod. That fallen tree. That is a big tree. Yeah, that's the one. Extended encounters, yes. Yeah, that's a good mod. I tried to cut down on the amount of world overhauls that I was using. What the fuck was that? Yeah, so I tried to cut down because it adds a lot of lag. It can contribute to crashes. So I decided to just keep one good one. And I felt this was the most superior one. But we also have 13's Beaten Path. We got Raidho. And Raidho works really well with 13's Beaten Path. So there's just a lot to see out there on your travels. We could have used Northern Roads. I like Northern Roads. Northern Roads is a great mod. Good opportunity to look at the retexture on the signs real quick. Northern Roads is a great mod. It's just, you know, as you've probably heard before, it is a compatibility nightmare. It is, in a mod list of 210 mods, it is not fun to manage all that mod plus all of its patches. Could we have gotten it working? Most likely, but listen, we're already using Tomatoes landscapes. We downloaded the Tomatoes version of, yes, way too many patches, way too many. It's, you know, and it gets tedious. Like, we already have 210 mods. I don't want to manage 20 more. More dirt. So, yes, I have seen that mod as well. Okay, hold on now. Where's our sword? There it is. That makes sense. Wandered into enemy territory. Yeah, so anyway, blended roads, much easier to work with. It doesn't alter the terrain or the, you know, it's a retexture, but it doesn't alter the terrain in any way, so you won't have any gaps or holes in the earth or anything like that. Man, I could just wander around this area endlessly. This is probably one of the most beautiful areas in this whole game. But yeah, the Tomatoes version of Blended Roads, it's not the Tomatoes version, it's More Sombra's uploaded it to PS5. However, he's included the Tomatoes textures, so we get the added benefit of using a mod. Now, the other thing is, Northern Roads, base Northern Roads, no patches at all, is like 56 megabytes. Base Blended Roads is 3 megabytes. The one we're using with the Tomatoes textures is 16 megabytes. So, I mean, you do the math. I mean, you get to not have to deal with managing all those patches, and, you know, you get the simplicity, plus you get more space for other mods. So I think Blended Roads is the way to go. You could use simple dirt roads, however, I think that adds too many harsh seams. And if you really were a Nazi about the seams, you could get the... Yeah, that's cool. You could get the really blended roads, and you would have almost no seams. But the Tomatoes version of that mod is like 40 megabytes, so we went with just the basic, which works well enough.
Give up while you still can! Die! Go ahead, try and fight!
Whoa, I think pretty sure we just throat punched him.
I can take it.
Oh, I didn't mean to do that. There we go. Just We're using the I think it's called Enhanced Blood Textures Light. It's already disappeared. Oh, you can see it over here still. With a mod load order this heavy, the full enhanced textures, enhanced blood textures was just causing some issues. My God, Skyrim is busy today. Alright, I think we've had enough of this area. Let's go. So we've seen Solitude. We could go check out Morthal, but I think we're gonna look at Falkreath. So this is an area that's going to be a little heavy on the FPS. Not unplayable, but a little heavy. Little stutters here and there, but overall very playable. See, we're getting a nice effect between our Vedasbram region's grass, our Origins of Forest, our Traverse the Eldenwald. You don't need a mod that adds a ton of trees, you know? Origins of Forest is doing a lot of heavy lifting for us.
This PS.
This is PS, yeah, this is the base PS5. I want to say,
And this looks good.
Yeah, Series X, nice. Yeah, I'm kind of curious how like the PS5 Pro would handle this load order. I know it definitely has quite a bit more processing power, and I know that the people who mod on Skyrim with the PS5 Pro have a much easier time. However, Skyrim is such an old game, I don't know how much benefit you would actually get in the long run. Probably just smoother frames, really, but I mean, in an area like this, you would have a much nicer time. This is one of those areas that's just heavy on FPS, but I mean, our base PS5 is handling it just well, you know, just fine. Alright, we're gonna go to, I've already been to Winholm. Go to Dawnstar. Let's go check out Marth real quick. Morthville is another one of my favorite towns. Just like a quaint little village on the water. Take a moment to admire that transition. Ice is one of my favorite parts about Tomato's landscapes. He does ice really well. Azurite Weathers 3 does a really nice job on the night sky. So, depends on the weather, but nights can get pretty dark. And sometimes nights can be a little bright. Kind of just depends. You can always alter that stuff in the Azurite meditation, though. So that's another good thing about Azurite. We're gonna head over to... I want to head to the College of Winterhold. We'll save Dawnstar for last. We'll see here, it's
We need coin around here.
I mean, apart from the lights, the torches and stuff, it's a little bit lighter here, it feels like.
Cross the bridge. The way is dangerous, and the gate will not open. You shall not gain entry.
See you, lady. So we're not going to be able to get in. But I am using JK's College of Winterhold. We are using Britain's Winterhold. I'm going to fast forward it to daytime so you can kind of see those textures. It's a little hard to see in this weather, but they add these nice like stained glass windows. Kind of gives a nice little like color variation to just the stone itself. Let's see if we can get rid of this weather. There we go. Yeah, you can kind of see it. There's like those red stained glass windows. I like it.
I'm sorry, could you describe the smell?
Like some horrible monster was turned inside out and then exploded. What did you do?
It was a minor miscalculation. I've already corrected it for future experiments.
This
Keep your hands to yourself.
With your college, Nelagar. Come on.
That was perfect timing.
Let me know if you need anything. Take a seat.
It's like she was telling me not to pet the cat. Alright, in a minute we'll go check out Dawnstar. I think that's added by Rado. So those icebergs should be animated. We're using animated icebergs and ice flows. which I actually have not experienced yet, so maybe we'll go check those out in a second. Oh, it is. Yeah, it is moving. That's pretty cool. It's like bobbing up and down. Yeah, that's cool. It, like, bobs up and down. It like tips side to side. Nice. Yeah, again, Tomatoes does ice really well. I thought they were gonna attack for a second. Is this a ghost? Oh, she got me good. Well, you know it's tragic. We have autosave turned off, and we didn't save. So, something to keep in mind when you don't have autosave turned on. Make sure you save. But we were doing a demo, so not really important. Wait. I can probably just get to Dawnstar from here. So when I'm actually playing, and I'm not doing a demo, I don't use the all map locations. I kind of use the realm of Lorkhan as a hub. So what I do is I add the teleport, which you can only use once every 24 hours. And then I kind of come back here like a hub, kind of like in a Dark Souls game or like an Elden Ring or something like that. I kind of think this is like the hub. And, you kind of teleport once a day from here. I like it. It adds the functionality without allowing you to abuse it. I don't know where the hell the Dawnstar Stone is. Fort Dawnguard is probably worth looking at. We have... You know what? Since I know where it is, let's go to Fort Dawnguard. And then from there we'll travel to Dawnstar. Because we are using Ritten's Dawnguard. There's Ritten's Dawn Guard. He has 2 variants of this. I believe this is version 1, if I'm not mistaken. Now there is another nice mod for this, if you come here a lot, for the roofs. Kind of redoes the roofs, makes them pointy, almost kind of like a castle. That actually might be worth adding. I think it's only like 2 or 3 megabytes, but definitely be a nice little aesthetic. This load order, if you follow it to the T, it is, you'll have 25 megabytes of space to play with, so you can add in little details like that if you want. And if you want the full load order, I can, well, if you're not in the Breathing Life Discord, I would recommend joining the Breathing Life Discord. My load order is there in full, and you can also join the GhosTa's Skyrim thread, where I can give you any help or help you answer any questions about the load order. Okay. But I have the load order in a spreadsheet, so if I were to put it on YouTube, I would just show you the load order if it wasn't 210 mods and creation menu would crash immediately. So we're not going to do that. Though I guess it would be kind of a decent way to end the stream, wouldn't it? I don't know that I'd get through the whole thing though, but we can try.
Halt! City's closed with the dragon. Welcome to Whiterun, friend.
I don't know why I came to Whiterun. We're gonna go to Dawnstar.
Divine's sake, Skald. Who do you think
At it. We need to work twice as hard now that
We're not
fat-headed leg elf has declared war.
We're at war with Leg Elf? Isn't he your husband? I think of that.
No, he isn't. He's the enemy.
So again, we are getting JK's Dawnstar on this, on the version 2, JK's version 2, uploaded by B-Very of A. I think we'll check it out. Ooh. I just got kind of pink there. Oh yeah, like nice little sunset. So, yeah, I don't think we're missing anything. We did Riften. We did Falk Reef. We did Markarth. Solitude, Morthal, Dawnstar, Whiterun. I think we checked everything off the list. So, I think we'll end the stream where we began, back on Riverwood. Got Butterflies Land True and Butterflies Unchained. Just a nice little touch. So, that's it. So yeah, the load order, 210 mods. This will leave you with 25 megabytes free. It is clearly stable. And despite how many mods there are, it is very good on performance. Really very, very minimal clipping, if any. The load order has been curated to minimize it as much as possible. And yeah, just overall, I feel like, you know, the interiors, the exteriors, the weather, it's got a nice aesthetic, it's very atmospheric. It plays into Skyrim's strengths. It doesn't go trying to reinvent the game and make it a different game. You know, there's some load orders out there that literally try to make Skyrim like Dark Souls, you know. This is nothing like that, but if you're looking for a nice, enhanced, kind of a almost a new gen feeling for Skyrim, this is how you do it. So, if I can put the load order in the description, I will. Again, it's in a spreadsheet, so it might take a little bit of effort, but I will try to go through our load order here, but it will probably crash, so if it does, thank you guys for watching. And again, if you're not in the Breathing Life server, I would definitely recommend joining. And if you have any questions, just look up GhosTa's Skyrim in the load order section, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Or if you just want to talk mods, we can do that as well. I'm just going to go through quick, hope I can get through as many as I can. If you're at this point in the YouTube video, just go into the settings cog and slow it down. Yeah, I apologize for going so fast. I know it's going to crash on me. Yep, it just froze. So, I don't know if you guys can still hear me, but thanks again for watching.